Senior Fellow on Public Employee Unions at the Manhattan Institute. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be with you.
What is going on with the Supreme Court, and what are we waiting Neil Gorsuch to rule on?
Well, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments yesterday in one of its most controversial cases this year, which is about whether public employee unions can be forced by state laws to pay unions even if they don't want to be members of unions, or whether such arrangements violate their First Amendment rights to free speech and free association.
And so is this the ruling by the Supreme Court? Is this going to, if it goes the right way, destroy unions as we know it?
Well, I think that's probably going too far, but it will certainly, if Justice Gorsuch votes with the other conservative judges, and we're likely to have a 5-4 decision handed down in late May or early June, that would take public employee unions down a notch or two, and will cause them to probably lose members and money over time. Because
the argument would be, I don't have to join the union if I don't want to.
Well, you can't be required, as under U.S. law now, you can't be required to be a union member as a condition of employment, because that violates your First Amendment freedom of association rights. The issue here is the court, in a 1977 case that you could call a Solomonic decision, decided, well, you can't be forced to be a member, but you could still be forced to pay the union for its representational services that it provides in collective bargaining. And whether that is constitutional is now the question.
So the union doesn't have to represent me, but if I belong to a union and it's a union shop, I must pay for their representation even though I don't want it.
That's correct.
Now, part of this argument, Dan, is it not the lobbying side of it, but the unions will tell you that their monies are split, and the unions say, do you want your money to go towards lobbying for certain causes? And so the unions say that money is split, and that's a red herring. Is that true or false?
Well, the issue here, the claim of the plaintiff, is that the government context, the collective bargaining in the public sector is different, and that's because all the issues are really political issues. How to allocate scarce tax dollars means how much to pay public employees, how much benefits to provide, how work rules are going to be determined is how public employees carry out their duties. So in that sense, they argue that it's inherently political what's at question. So even if you can't make this nice, neat distinction that you can in the private sector between collective bargaining on the one hand and political activity in the other, because they're all directed in the public sector at the same source, which is the government employer.
Could you argue that if you don't want to join the union, you don't get the union benefits, i.e. higher wages when they negotiate higher wages or benefits or some of the like? You would have to negotiate that on your own, where the union would then negotiate that for you.
Well, that's what the preference of Mr. Janus has argued, that he would rather negotiate his own pay and benefits and let the union, if people want to join it, they would have the free choice to do that, and they could negotiate a pay and benefits package for themselves. Now, whether government employers want to work things that way is another question. So there's that third party to the issue.
Why is Neil Gorsuch the crux of this? I thought he was the conservative dream. So why is there a question over how he's going to vote on this?
Only because he's really the unknown here. The court heard a nearly identical case to this just 2 years ago in 2016 called Friedrichs versus California Teacher Association. And in that case, the court ended up deadlocking due to Justice Scalia's untimely death. So most people assuming that the 4-4 vote meant that the four remaining conservatives were lined up against the 4 liberal justices. Now Justice Gorsuch is on the bench. He's the only sort of new vote here. His record overall suggests he'll side with the conservatives, and we'll see a 5-4 decision going against the unions. But since he's the unknown player, people were looking for what he might say in oral argument yesterday, but he didn't ask any questions. So oral argument didn't reveal very much.
The